Hey everyone, Mr. Dark here yet again with another review. So, Bleach Rebirth of Souls came out on March 20th, so as of this recording, about a month ago. And I was hyped for it. I don't normally get big into fighting games. I'm the kind of guy who usually likes the single player content. I love to do like the combo trials, challenge modes, mission modes, the stories. I've never been big on online. My internet has pretty much always been a problem for it, and that's not as much of the case as it used to be, but with that being said, I'm still not big into it. That's most PvP games anymore. I don't really get into just PvP. I like to play with my friends and against my friends. I don't have fun playing with or against randoms anymore because it's too much of a toss-up if it's someone who's going to have an idea of how to play at all, or if they're just going to be throwing the game on purpose, or if they're just going to be sweating their freaking balls off. Not my thing. So this is going to be a review exclusively on the single player content and the gameplay itself. I cannot in any way, shape, or form speak for the multiplayer. Though there has been some patches I've heard that have gotten rid of character infinites and done some balance changes, but I can't speak for that. So, getting into it, as you can see, the game is heavily stylized. Like, it is just absolutely dripping in style and theme. Music's awesome. The customization options are a bit limited, but it's just bare bones basic stuff for like a player card. I also have 100%ed the game. It took roughly 44 hours. I probably could have shaved off 4 to 6 more hours of that if I'd been more conscientious of what I was spending my soul points on and focused on buying crystals, because that was the longest grind. But as far as single player content goes, if you haven't played any of the Bleach games before, or if you've never watched Bleach at all, the story mode is going to be the absolute bulk of your gameplay time. Story mode is broken up into both the main stories and the secret stories. The main story is going to cover everything from the beginning of the show in manga, which was the Substitute Sorry arc. You go straight into Soul Society, and all the way up through the battle for Karakura Town. So all the way to the very end of the original run. Though, everything here. The game itself sets up both the Fullbring and the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Both with its ending themes and everything else. Now, one thing I will give the game big credit to is that it goes with the story one for one. Like, it does all the story beats right. It tells, you know, the exact story with very, very minor blemishes, such as Onohueko Mundo, where Orihime gets kidnapped and held hostage while Ichigo is beating down Grimmjow and Noitora. She gets kidnapped by Tesla. Pretty much the only real time he shows up in the series anyway, so he's not a major character, but she is being held by just a generic jobber in the game, which I understand. He's not really worth a model because he doesn't do anything besides that. That's his one moment, and you do get filler arcs in the game, which is both hilarious and right on brand with anyone that's familiar with the Bleach anime. We have had so many filler arcs and filler episodes because the manga was not releasing fast enough for the anime creators to keep it up. And it's something else that they are definitely following more of the manga interpretation more so than the anime. The anime definitely focuses heavily on Ichigo and Rukia becoming an item. When, you know, midway through, you find out it's supposed to be Ichigo, or it's supposed to be Ichigo and Orihime, but the anime is focusing stupidly heavy on trying to make it Ichigo Rukia because they like Rukia more when they were doing that one. But I digress. The secret stories, now, these are essentially things that were not fully shown during the main story, such as the training for Uryu to get his powers back, or the training that Chad goes through. Orihime isn't playable, so hers is basically just what she's doing throughout the duration of the story. And each character pretty much gets their own. You won't see every last character in the series get one, but everybody gets one that is playable, and one or two that aren't. Now, on to playables. We've got a very healthy roster, though there are some odd missing ones for my taste. And just looking at this character select screen, you can already tell it's designed on purpose to be able to be fleshed out. So there's what, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 12. There's room for at least 14 more characters if this were to be completely evened out. Now, characters that I find odd to be missing are the ones like the Hollow Ichigo. Zangetsu sort of has his own thing going on. I would really like to see some of the actual filler arc characters show up, such as the Zanpakuto Rebellion, even if they are just skin swaps of already existing characters, just because of how unique they were, and it was probably one of the good instances of actual good and worthwhile filler to watch. But all the characters also play differently. They all have their own unique abilities and damage output, all that good stuff. For instance, Yamamoto, he cannot dash, slow as hell, but he hits like a truck. And if you don't pay attention to what you're doing with him, he enters an inferno state where he just constantly loses health, but his damage output is even more severe. Mayuri focuses on like poisoning because that directly influences his damage. Kenpachi is just brute strength to the point where even blocking his attacks does chip damage. Ichigo is, of course, you know, your all-arounder. Stark and Uryu are going to be your zoners, although Uryu is still capable in close combat without much issue. Stark, on the other hand, he is bad, and it's painful to say because he's supposed to be one of the top Espada. He's bad in this game. Both that most of his good attacks require gauge to use,
get over here. Yeah.
And also that his own life-taking attacks damage him, as well as he can end up sacrificing lives just to do attacks, which in this game there aren't too many comeback mechanics for him, whereas you have characters like Ichigo and Saisapara who can resurrect. See how his attacks drain his EX gauge constantly? Now, if you go in to do an attack by accident, which I like to play aggressive, so I'll actually dash in, but if you don't have that, stops, and just bash yourself in the head with your pistol and you're left wide open. He also doesn't gain meter from normal attacks like other characters, so any other character that was swinging normally would have already gained EX gauge. Stark has to instead, in a game full of almost nothing but, you know, melee fires, hold B to charge up an EX meter so that he can use over half of his kit. But that'll bring me to my next thing. All these weird meters on the screen, you have the reverse gauge, which is sort of like the get the hell off me button. So say I were to do something like that, I can then use my reverse gauge, and that'll slow him down so I can further my combos. The other version is if you're getting hit, it throws them off of you and they can beat on you for a second to get yourself some breathing room. Now the last one, it's just standing still. It starts to heal you and it constantly charges your EX gauge for you. Now the other bars at the top are for your health, and the number indicates lives. So currently Ichigo has 6 lives or 6 health bars, and the big white bar underneath is of course health. And EX is of course, you know, like your special meter. In Stark's case, it's going to just be for firing the guns. But for other characters, and Tark included, it's going to be for special moves, such as Sero Automatico. I think Ichigo doesn't have Getsuga Tensho as his special for any of them. Combos as well are limited to about 3 buttons. You have your standard dash forward and back. I have a lot of issues with the movement. There's no fast movement, really. Like, this is as fast as it gets, unless you just dash straight at your opponent, but there's no quick retreat, which, in the instance of, you know, a zoner character like Stark, you want to get as far away as possible. But once you do enough or eat enough damage, there's also evolutions, which can change out how you play. So, and everybody's is unique. So for Stark, he disposes of his guns, trades them out for blades. So he goes from a zoner to an actual close quarters, though I don't particularly care for him in close quarters as much. His damage output seems a bit reduced. But alongside, you know, those changes to actual how characters function, you're gaining a different set of skills. Like, Stark can sacrifice the lives now to create the wolves to do follow-up attacks for him. You get a damage output increase, and it usually changes out your finishing move. So before, you know, it was just blast with a Sero. Now we're calling in the wolves.
Sorry, but I'm gonna end this.
Paro can transform once, but his awakened form, while it doesn't give him a real damage increase, it comes with other beneficial effects, such as being able to resurrect himself should he lose. Ichigo has something similar, though he can transform 4 times. Aizen gets 4 transformations. Like, some characters are definitely get a lot more than others, but in fairness, they also had more in the show, so it does make sense. Bankais as well are actually pretty cool, but it varies based on your character. So Renji's is going to be a lot different from, say,
by about 2,000 years.
Let's say Ikkaku's.
There's no way
Ikkaku's will change his weapon and give him some stat boosts, whereas Renji's will just straight out alter the arena.
Real.
So like Renji as well behaves very differently. As you can tell, I've got more range here, and he does have tippers on his attacks. So like here, that was about 17 hits. But for Renji, he goes into actual Bankai, and it will teleport you to a separate stage set aside just for Bankais. So characters in the show that got massive Bankais and attacks will get, you know, full-on arenas just for, and it becomes a nightmare to deal with this. Because as you can see, you know, his range gets absolutely ridiculous. But at the cost of my movement being absolutely nerfed to oblivion. Though my damage output is severe. Now, this runs for a limited time, but I don't think I've had an instance where my opponent was able to, you know, time it out with it. Because you can also land attacks to knock out a life to get them out of it as well. But now Renji, because of that weakened state from running out of Bankai time, is in a weakened state, so he can't even, you know, send out Zabimaru anymore for his attacks. Unless you do Oath of the Soul, which then sort of overrides it. But with that said, I believe Renji's the only one I've found so far that has a weakened state from Bankai. The other characters that I've seen do not have such a limitation to them. But then there's also, you know, the last version of Ichigo who can insta-kill. He has to land his major attacks 3 times. And his kit also expands based on how many, you know, times he's landed. At the first, you know, the kit gets a little better. The second time, he's pretty much running full force at you. But for single player offerings, we only have training, versus mode, and missions, which mission mode, it's essentially just like a survival. You get 1 health bar and you've got to go, this one I think it's 3, then 4, then I think that's 5 or 6 back to back with a single stock of lives, and they get stronger and harder, but the rewards also get better, which is going to be your primary way to grind points should you need to buy things. Now, as far as, like, you know, music and everything goes, it sounds amazing. There's no arguing that one. And while I love that the story is 1 for 1, the way it's handled in this is very disappointing for me. Like,
Now go on. Heal him.
No.
like
I'm not asking.
it's a lot of
I'm
fade
telling
to black
you.
and cut to
Do
blacks
it.
because of
Heal
them
him.
just not animating the in-between
I
actions.
won't.
And
I'm not going to help you
unfortunately
kill
as
him.
well, they
I
use a
won't do it.
lot of stock motions.
You.
Like the standard walking animation is just so off-putting and the speed is all wrong.
Let her go.
Ichi.
And in some instances you're gonna have, you
Heal
know,
me.
instances where the
Heal me.
character is like, oh, I've
Heal
got to
my
hurry and
wounds.
save somebody, and they go to dash, and it's just the
heal
dash
him
that you see
too.
during the regular combat,
Shut up.
but at a
don't
super
want
slowed
your
down
pity.
speed, so it just
Keep it to
looks
yourself.
very goofy.
It's not pity.
And while this
I mean,
isn't a
you
knock
wanted
to
a
the
fair
game,
fight,
the
didn't you?
voice movements and
Or maybe
everything, the lip sync,
you wanna keep your
has been
wounds,
done with for
So
the
you'll have an
Japanese
excuse when
dialogue,
you lose.
which the Japanese dialogue was pretty
In
good
that
quality.
case,
No
let's
knocks to
have a
that
good,
whatsoever.
clean murder.
I always watched it in
Hey,
English though,
turn
so
that
that's
frown
what I
upside
stick
down,
with.
Al. You
Though
two
both
the
are
enemy.
great,
Don't worry.
and
gonna
some
win
characters
this.
sound great and almost 1 for 1 with their original characters.
Ichigo.
You have some that have some very off-line reads or very obviously not,
Let's
you
go
know,
somewhere else.
good replacements
Joe.
for the voice of the character.
Ichigo.
You know, all your battle effects sound great.
Ichigo.
All of the actual clash effects
Don't
sound
worry.
nice and
Ichigo's
meaty.
going to win. Wait.
One problem
How
you're
do you
going to have
know
with this
that?
game though is
Because
repetition.
he said he would. And I believe him.
And that doesn't apply
Yeah,
just to
sure,
story
that's
mode
easy
because
enough to
cutscenes
say,
can get
but
rather
Ichigo was
long.
scared. And I know
Which
that scared
it's
people
an anime
always
game,
put up
that's
a tough
nothing
fight and
new.
talk big.
If you've never played an anime game and
Ichigo is a really good
but you've
guy.
watched anime,
When he
I mean,
says
you already
something
know
like
that
it's
there
not
tends to
just
be
a
very
meaningless
long
empty
speech
boast.
sections for these
It's a
series in between battles.
I think he's
It is
made
what it
this
is.
promise to himself.
But
Saying it out loud,
you can
he's
only watch some
solidifying
of the
his
stock
resolve.
animation for so long
So
before it
don't
starts to get
worry.
kind of
if
jarring
Ichigo
and
says he'll
grating.
win, he'll win.
And the other
Now,
knock for the game,
let's
which
have
is
faith in
unfortunate
him.
because it's part
And,
of
wait,
the actual, you know, main combat and gameplay loop is that eventually you're going to want to switch around and play other characters because you're going to get so sick of hearing your main character do their signature attack to take a life. But you can skip through your cutscenes as well. It doesn't knock you, doesn't hurt you if you just want to play through the game. Before story missions, and I believe it also applies during mission mode. I don't think you can do this in versus or online. You can equip soul crystals, which are going to alter how you play. Everything from as long as you have all your lives, you get an extra 45% damage, to ones that constantly drain your life but give you more damage. Or if you land an attack, you know, you gain more damage that way. And you have ones for attack, you've got ones for like your spirit stuff, so you gain more EX bar and things like that, or it changes how you gain it. There's ones that I like here, which are like the defense, which, you know, reduces all damage, to recovering your guard gauge faster, or reducing the depletion if you have to play really defensively. And then there's, you know, your stamina ones, which, you know, affect reverse actions, revenge, and all that, as well as your Ho consumption, which is kind of like your instant transmission for Dragon Ball Z, or a substitution for the Naruto series. Now, you can also see that there are real moments during the story battles. You also have a character control guide that tells you how to play the character, essentially what their focus is, and kind of what each move does, as well as their finishing moves and how those work. So for him, you know, starting is 3, then 4, then 5. Now, if you have a full fighting spirit bar on death with Ichigo, you get to just come back to life in hollow form, which is, you know, absolutely devastating. We're talking like one combo eats half a life bar. It is outright cruel. But for the story, you know, you do actually get to see and feel like you were doing the fight from the show to an extent. Unless, you know, you're fairly good at fighting games, in which case, you know, it's not going to feel the same, because those instances where you're supposed to feel, you know, overwhelmed, you're probably beating the ever-loving piss out of them. Now, if you're going for the real moments, you can actually end fights early without having to deplete all the lives, but you cannot mess it up. If you do, you know, it pretty much cancels that out. So in this instant, I messed it up there because it wants me to use a specific attack to deplete his health bar, which you can recover from it, but sometimes it's not really possible to, depending on the fight. Every character has 3 sets of moves. Ichigo's, it's, you know, the normal quick attacks, which everybody gets, and the flash attacks, which are your heavies. And then B is their signatures, which in this version of Ichigo, it's his Getsuga. Now in the the standard version of him, what that's going to do instead is just make him do like a charged up 2-hit wing combo, which is good for breaking down defense. But see, because we did the real moment there, we get a cutscene for it, and we get to have the fight change a little quicker.
Only a Sparta are allowed to use it. Wait! Grimjow! That's headed for Onihime! You're gonna die for real now! Hombre, settle! Ah, there you are. Yeah, this is it!
And there are characters that you will fight during the story as well that seem to have mostly fleshed out movesets but aren't playable. Such as, let's see. It was the King of Hueco Mundo, but I can't remember his name for the life of me off the top of my head. Now, the real moments change now to, you know, you have to fight without losing any health. like any of your lives for a set amount of time, which
What's wrong? Feeling a little
for me,
out of breath?
kind of
Is your
easy.
mask at its limit?
Oh yeah? I guess we'll see.
Which is pretty much, you know, until they stop
You
talking.
can take the pain.
I gotta say, it looks like you're hurting pretty bad yourself.
Sorry.
I'm gonna hold back a little bit here. And activate my reverse action, that way I can, you know, regen health. Your reverse gauge also acts like a stamina bar, so all you gotta do is, you know, finish a combo, and then you can, when you send them flying, you just hit A or your dash button, whatever it may be. You teleport behind them, and you continue the combo pretty much automatically if you hit any of the attack buttons. The game says you can do this multiple times, but I have yet to be able to activate it. Unless it's just me being dumb.
You're really spent
Overall,
now.
some characters feel extremely
It's
stiff,
over.
Each
and then there's some, until you actually get to grips with what you're supposed to be doing with them, just feel completely uncontrollable. There's probably some super text and stuff you can do with this, but I can't really find too many myself just from playing normally. I've found like some attack cancels that I can do, such as, you know, canceling near the end of my combo to go into the full swing for a guaranteed big hit. Or peppering in a Getsuga here and there, but I think some of that stuff's been patched out too.
Really think that you've defeated me?
And now my real moment's changed yet again to landing my signature move 3 times, so 1, 2... Now you do also gain EX faster from doing just quick attacks.
I'll let you have a taste of my strongest technique.
And there, since I landed a 3rd one, it's going to change up the win condition yet again if it doesn't just outright win the fight for you,
They just keep
instead of
mocking
having to drain out the last life that he
No matter
has,
how
which
badly I beat
if I
you
hadn't done what I
somewhere
did at
deep
the start,
inside,
he'd
you
still have
always
like
think
4 or
you can
5
beat
more
me. You
lives, so I'd
always
have to
believe
drain
you're
him down
superior to me.
twice.
I can't stand that! Anybody who dares look down on me will be crushed without any mercy!
Which, you know, not winning with the real moment can tend to make the fight a lot harder,
Descaro,
because the enemy is still going to go into their full transforms and everything, and usually go more in on you as far as the AI seems to behave.
it's all over now, Ichigo! You're mine!
Now, there's 2 ways to knock out lives. You can either drain the health bar entirely, or you can
Descaro
full on get them down to red,
am the king!
and then go with that red charge attack I'd shown before, and just charge it up instead.
You know it's not just you. You're not the only one who wants to win. What? I guess you were right.
See how I flashed red
Maybe
during that
I
last
actually
attack?
did come here in order to fight you.
To defeat you, Grim Jow! To defeat you,
By doing that,
Okura and Aizen, all of you! Rukia, Chad, Ruryu, Renji, and Orihime! I'm taking them all back with me! So that's the plan. I can't lose to you, Grim Jow!
let's see, all you gotta do at this point is get that last hit off. Now see, instead of, you know, drain the rest of the bar, I can hold it and go all in. No, this is at the cost of damage. Any attack that's performed this way will take 1 less life than it normally would. So, for instance, Grimjow's attacks there would have shaved 5 lives off of me if he depletes my HP bar all the way.
Orihime,
But if he were to, you know, charge it instead, I'd only lose 4. So there is some tactical advantage to that if you really need it. Though I prefer to finish fights as quickly as possible. Because the longer the fight goes on, you know, the more chances there are to make a mistake. But there are also secret moments that give out, that are going to be different from that. They're not going to win you the battle automatically or anything like that, but they're going to kind of give you a better track of beating it. Usually it involves performing a counter, or it's something specific to the character that they're kind of known for. Like at performing a counter, which personally I don't like the counters. I'm not a big defensive player. I never really have been. And that is something I do want to get into as well. I can't say the game was not made without passion, because there's so many little details that are done right. Everything from, you know, Kenpachi's eye patch being done properly. See, I can teleport a little bit there, but if you time it right, it turns into a full-on combo. And Kenpachi behaves like you'd think, you know. He gains hyper armor on a lot of his attacks. His stance also involves, you know, swinging in with everything he's got. So that's what, 1400? It's 1200 right there for that one. Take a hit. So for Kenpachi now, he doesn't have Bankai in the game, so he actually gets to, you know, do that. You can see if you catch it just briefly, you've got the little mouths on the eye patch and everything, even on the base fighting game model, not just in cutscenes. However, if you were to try and do, you know, one of these attacks on somebody that isn't in red, they can stop you by swinging back. But every one of the attacks pretty much is something that they've done in the show. It's always got some kind of cool reference to it. But there's only so many times I can hear Kenpachi tell me the sword's stronger when you swing it with two hands before it's just, I'm tired of hearing it. All in all, it's not a bad game, but it's definitely not as good as it could be or should be. The Naruto Storm series has set that bar really freaking high as well, so the tutorial is kind of eh. It's not bad, but I've played much better tutorials. And while, you know, the soundtrack is killer, I would have liked to see more polish in the cutscenes and the gameplay itself, because character movement can feel incredibly stiff. And there's no way around that. A fighting game has to feel good. If it feels like I'm moving my character through mud when he's supposed to be a zoner or a speed character, it's not going to feel fun. It doesn't feel right. If I'm playing someone like Kenpachi that's, you know, full on aggro, I should feel like I'm going all in and just going batshit, which thankfully he does. But some characters definitely got the short end of the stick. Ones that stick out like that to me are Stark. He got the short end of the stick so bad, which is a shame. Size Leparo is also one who kind of got the short end of the stick. He's not very fun to play, and his whole thing is he does very little damage until he starts to research the opponent, which involves hitting them repeatedly and then using an unblockable attack to build a meter. It's not very intuitive. It is sort of his character, but it's also not fun in a gameplay sense. Then you have someone like Kaname, who, while he does have an Arankar awakening state, it's not usable. You can't play as it. You fight it during the story mode, but it's not anything that you get to use. Along with the other aforementioned missing characters that should be here, because they do have entirely unique behaviors and everything from the show that can be, you know, round into a character. If I had to put a number on it, I would give the game a 6 or a 7. The actual features, there's, even for the online play, just looking at it now, there's not many real options or variations. It's just the same constant versus matches, just back to back. Your offline is pretty much just a wave of X amount of enemies or single battles. The story mode, while it is 1-for-1, it's got incredibly janky movement. It's incredibly janky with how it handles cutscenes. You can easily tell where they put most of their budget, like especially during the Ulquiorra battles. You can tell that's where almost the entire budget went into. Like, you can tell that they knew, like, if we have to get anything right, it has to be this battle. Like, there is no other way to do this. This has to be the one. We have to get this cutscene right. We cannot screw this one up because it's one of the biggest ones in the show. Like, I'll even showcase it here a little bit. Like here, this is what the cutscenes should have been looking like. But see, again, we keep doing the blackouts just to be in the same spot. Which, they overuse it a lot. Black in, black out, black in, black out, black in, black out, constantly. But see here, like, you have actual like camera work being done. The models are actually moving in ways that make sense. The speed and timing's proper.
You're challenging an enemy that you can't possibly defeat. Your obstinate belief in your ability to win is beyond my comprehension.
I'm hoping that the game did well enough that we get to see a continuation where maybe they can improve this and work this up to the level of the Storm series. But looking at the Steam paging for it, the reviews are already mixed. It's at like a 66%, which is horribly tragic. And it's already sub 500 players, which for a fighting game is never good.
Because I have to win.
Fighting games live or die based on their communities and player base.
Nonsense.
For the simple matter of, you know, if you have nobody to play online, that's it. You could see there, you know, Orihime's running animation, jank, and the speed doesn't match what it should be.
Ichi, go.
You're here, woman. Oh, good. You're just in time. Now watch this.
See, even here, you know, while the two on the ground don't look good at all, like their motions were messed up. We get to actual, you know, good working cinema like this in it. That should have been the majority of it. But it's unfortunate there's only a small handful of instances where, like, they actually got it right there. But they couldn't do it in the prior frames.
Don't bother. Whatever you might
So it
try,
has weird
it's pointless.
points and
The
weird
fact is
dips in
that you're
consistency
simply
of
not
its
strong
quality,
enough
which
to
is
save this
unfortunate. It is truly, truly unfortunate. Like, see there?
This is
We're back to the janky.
I thought that I had a pretty clear read on you. I took you for the calmest of Ichigo Kurosaki's friends.
I am calm.
And the game also suffered a myriad of optimization and bugs on launch, which hurt it immensely. You know, we're a little over a month into the game's life now, and it still has optimization issues. Like, it's still working my PC up to a warmer temp when this PC is beyond capable of playing it.
What should I do, Ichigo? I don't know.
Another thing that I find very odd is the lack of blood or like the damaging effects. in the show. Like, for the show, you know, they do get blasted. The manga, you know, you get a hole put through you. It happens. But either from not wanting to make a different model, or maybe they were just going for a lower rating, you rarely, if ever, see any blood or anything like that when there should be. I'm not saying every swing should be bringing out a big thing of gore or, you know, a splash of red all over the place, but during the cutscenes, at least, you should get that, because those are, you know, the canon times where it happens. I think the only instance I can recall there being blood shown was during Aizen's death in the Soul Society arc. And that's unavoidable. They pinned the man to the wall with a sword.
Ichigo! This can't be. You can't be alive. What is this form I see? Just who are you?
And everything else, I'm not too hopeful that this game is going to get to see a continuation, though there are 4 new DLC characters on the way, though there's no set release date for them yet that I have seen. I'm hoping that they release some of the other arcs. Like I said, I would love to see the Zanpakuto Rebellion arc show up, even though it was filler. I'd like to see them bring in the Hell arc. I would love to see 1,000 Year Blood War, but more than anything, I want them to take their time with them and actually get them to the quality that they need to be. The Naruto Storm games have shown us that, you know, anime fighting games don't have to be, you know, these cheap one-note games that are just there to buy off of fan fiction. That shows that you can have quality. You can have, you know, authenticity to it. There can be passion to it. And that definitely speaks to the longevity of the Storm games. Granted, Naruto was a much longer series, but we've had Bleach games in the past that, you know, only told 1 or 2 arcs at a time. And while you couldn't really do that with the first arc in this, you could definitely, you know, do more with the Soul Society arc, because that was a fairly long arc. The Waco Mundo arc was chopped up really poorly. The Katakura Town one was pretty good, so there's potential here. And hopefully, next game gets a lot better. Because otherwise, we're probably not going to see another Bleach game for a long time. Especially now, you know, that the series is pretty much at its end with the end of the 1,000 Year Blood War. Unless they do decide to do a continuation from, you know, the point of, oh, this is Ichigo's kid now, and we're going to follow his life. But we'll see. So, unfortunately, Bleach Rebirth of Souls is a very mid game. There are some sparks of passion in it. There is some effort there. There was some love put into it. But either from a lack of time, a lack of a budget, or lack of passion, it suffers from some jank and just a drought of content, which is unfortunate. We do have, you know, instances in the past where games, especially fighting games, have come out with, you know, a healthy amount of content to do besides just the story mode and your bare bones arcade modes. And I would like to see fighting games get back to that. I'm not particularly happy with the state of fighting games right now, because gone are the days of, you know, things like Soul Calibur 3, where you had Chronicles of the Sword, you had the arcade mode for all the characters, you had a main story, you had missions that not only were, you know, just beat the opponent, but you're collecting coins or you're trying to do a King of the Hill, to, you know, Mortal Kombat Deception with Combat Chess or the Puzzle Fighter, or its story mode, which was an open world, you know, essentially tutorial for all the characters. It's a tragedy at this point that fighting games have just become about nothing more than the online and the competitive aspect. We used to have fun in them as well. It wasn't just all about competitive and balancing. It was, hey, we have this online stuff for the competitive players, but for you that like to play casually or that want to just get a break from the standard action or want to see some cool idea that we thought of, we have this here too. Maybe your internet's not working, maybe your internet's not strong enough, maybe you've just gotten smoked 8 times in an online match and you're tired of it and you want to do something a bit lighter. We don't do that much anymore. Even with Guilty Gear Strive, lack of content. The story mode was just, I think, a 3-hour cutscene. Outside of that, you had, what, an arcade mode, versus mode, just the bog standard. You don't, in your training mode, you didn't even get to have combo training or anything like that until a little while in, and that even then it was whatever combos other people post. Versus, you know, something like Underbirth in Night that, or Melty Blood, that gives you like the most optimal combos for your character to perform in the training modes, should you choose to want to. But I don't know. I've got a lot of thoughts on fighting games, and this one in particular. All the reviews I've done up to this point has been for games that I really, really loved and was excited about playing and beating. And unfortunately, Bleach gets to be the first one that doesn't get that treatment. I love Bleach. I've watched the whole series. I've bought all the Blu-rays. I've got the manga and read all of it. Like, I was super excited for this game, and unfortunately, it just doesn't have enough going for it to want me to keep playing it. The combat, while it does have moments where it really feels good and you really get into a flow and in the moment, it gets incredibly repetitive because of the restricted simplicity of the movesets and combos, and it being the same finisher attack every time, with the same animation, the same voice line. It's not a game that you're going to be able to play for long periods of time before you get tired of it and want to play something else.
Take it. Let's finish this.
And the story, it's a pretty much one and done. Once you've done everything in the story, there's no reason to go back. The mission mode, it's only there to grind fragments to upgrade soul crystals and currency, to buy more crystals or more nameplates, titles, icons. So, with that, my apologies, Bleach, but we can do a little better. We've got a good enough foundation here to work off of. Tweak the optimization, tighten those bolts, get this game patched up and battle fit again.
If you don't cut
and
me down now,
try to, if you're going to do these in-engine cutscenes, you've got to be more mindful of how you work the camera and how you showcase things, because small things do stick out really bad, and it's unfortunately one of those things where once you notice it, you can't unsee it. But other than, you know, those two big dings against it, graphically, the game's beautiful.
Right to the very
It's absolutely beautiful. The effects look right. Everything looks absolutely stellar. It looks damn near one for one to the show. Sound design is great. Metal sounds good. A lot of impactful swings. A lot of big bangs. The soundtrack is absolutely freaking killer, which is no surprise there. Anybody that's familiar with Taikubo's series knows Bleach has always had a killer soundtrack to it.
Can it be seen?
Hands
if I
down.
rip open this chest of yours? Or is
But
the true heart
6 or
elsewhere?
7 here.
If I crush your
We can do
skull,
better than,
will I
and we
find it in
have a
there?
lot of potential here to work with.
You humans toss
It
that
might
word.
just need to be a different style of game.
Nothing of significance at all.
Maybe the arena fighter isn't the best way to go about this, or maybe
See.
this style of fighting game isn't the right fit. I like the idea of,
This thing
one long
is
health
the
bar
heart of my
akin to, Killer Instinct, but
this heart.
maybe that just doesn't work for this game. I can't say for sure, but until next time, everyone, take care, and hopefully I'll get that Metaphor review out sometime in the near future. It was about a 6-page script I wrote up for that, like 10, I think it was like some 6,000 words or so that I put into that. Maybe I'll come back to this later on once it's gotten some of its new content made and added in, and we'll see if it comes back up and score any. But yeah, take care everyone. Dark out.